for our discussion in just a moment. So I'll just give folks just another minute to join us here, and we'll get started in just a moment.
Vice Chair, we are waiting for one more person to have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Do we know that one more person will join us, or we're hopeful?
We're hopeful.
But I don't see we have a vote scheduled for today other than the meeting minutes, so
Right.
we can still begin and can complete our business if we don't achieve a quorum here shortly. Well, it's 3:32. Let's go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Our presiding Judge Ashby is not with us this afternoon. Bless you. So I'm going to call the meeting to order here of our local Public Safety Coordinating Council meeting, Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. It looks like we may be getting our quorum now, which is great. And as I just mentioned a moment ago, Judge Bagley's with us, and we'll have the judge join us in a conversation about the pretrial programming in just a few moments, and we really appreciate your being here. Welcome everyone on this beautiful holiday week. Great to have great attendance on Tuesday as we move into the holiday here in very, very short order. Okay, so do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. In that case, I will move forward then with the May meeting minutes. I hope you've had an opportunity to review those. And if somebody is comfortable and supportive of making a motion to approve the Tuesday, May 7th, 2024 meeting minutes, that would be great.
I would move to approve.
Thank you. And do we have a second? I see Chief Lewis seconded. Thank you for the motion and the second. I think Judge Ashby's general practice is there anybody that objects? If so, let us know, and if not, then we will consider the minutes approved. Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you, our district attorney and our chief for the minutes. We will move forward with public comment. Do we have anybody online, Angie, that you're aware that you can see with a raised hand that would like to provide public comments to us this afternoon?
We do not.
We do not. Thank you, Angie. So we'll move into item number 4, the pre-trial programming, and we and again, Judge Bagley is here. Thank you for joining us, and Trevor Stevens with our Community Justice Department are both on the agenda for this agenda item. So if I can, I will turn it over to the two of you to lead us with this agenda item.
My part will be short. So Judge Ashby is not able to attend today. He asked me to attend in his place. He did recently issue a revised presiding judge order, and I believe that was just signed last month. I'm not sure exactly what the changes were on that from the previous PJO. There might have been some capture of some language designed to keep fentanyl dealers held potentially prior to arraignment. So I'm not sure what, if any, changes were present in the newly signed PJO regarding pretrial release. On the defense crisis end, I have a little bit more experience with that. I have been assisting Judge Ashby in managing that. As the committee is probably aware, our court and all of the courts in Oregon have been subject to at first some limbo and now some final word on unrepresented defendants. So the Betcher McShane opinion was appealed and the Ninth Circuit upheld that, which is sort of what we thought what would happen. That was the outcome we were expecting. And so our processes aligned with Judge McShane's original opinion, such that after 7 days of not being able to identify a lawyer for anyone in custody, we, the court, are now required to release, and we are releasing people generally with conditions and a future date to come back. So in practice, the way this is working, we have an unrepresented problem for both in custody and out of custody defendants, but just to address the in custody defendants, because that was the thrust of this opinion that we've been operating on. Those people are showing up daily on our general criminal court 2 rotation. If there is no attorney identified by the Oregon Public Defense Commission to appoint for that person, they go on an unrepresented list. And what that means for the judge holding criminal court is that they're given another court date, 5 judicial days, 7 regular days from that first appearance, to check and see if we have an attorney for them. And if we do not have an attorney for them by that 1 week, 7 days or 5 judicial days, then we are releasing those people with conditions for a later date to appear in front of Judge Ashby, who now has a standing Tuesday unrepresented docket starting at 10:30. DA Gunnels mans that and appears for those. And it's the hope that in 4 to 6 weeks, maybe we have a lawyer for these people, some or all of them. So that is taking up most of Judge Ashby's Tuesday mornings, and then the interim work is being handled by the judges on the regular rotation. We have the same problems with people who are not in custody, but because they're not in custody, we're not faced with having to release someone. They're already on release, but they are put on that same unrepresented persons list, and they appear at some later date with Judge Ashby, and we do our best to try to identify a lawyer for them in the meantime. So that's the update on the public defense crisis and how we're handling it. It's not getting any better in the near run or long run. I think maybe Mr. Gunnels would have more information on that, but the same pressure points are still pressure points, and the same problems that were leading to this are still problems. So we'll see if things settle out a little bit in the fall. Our local defense providers hope to be onboarding more attorneys, which should theoretically mean that we have fewer unrepresented defendants, but time will tell.
Thank you, Judge. Follow-up questions, comments, discussion before we move to Trevor?
Judge Bagley mentioned that I attend those hearings every Tuesday. I do not see an end to this anytime soon. I think the problem really has less to do with anything that's happening here in Deschutes County and more to do with what's happening in Salem with OPDC, which is the agency that oversees the apportioning of defense attorneys for criminal defendants who are indigent, and their OPDC's metrics don't actually make sense because they don't meet the needs of the criminal justice system. They meet some theoretical need that OPDC sees, and so we're kind of running into a problem, a break between what OPDC believes should be happening and what reality is, and it's just not going to get better in the near future. I just received word today that OPDC has proposed reducing the maximum that an attorney can take even further, and that will be, that will just make the problem much worse going forward. And so I think what's really needed is that when OPDC becomes part of the executive branch under the governor's office, the governor is going to need to address these shortcomings that OPDC is exhibiting. And I believe that's going to happen based on the letter that she sent OPDC last month. I think the governor's office is taking this very seriously, and the legislature as well. So, but that's not a fast solution.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Oh, please, Eric.
Yes, Steve, what's the process for OPDC to go under the governor? Or who has to approve that?
It will automatically happen. The legislature shifted responsibility from the judicial branch to the executive branch, but that doesn't happen until January of 2025. And so that's the anticipation is January 1st. The governor will have control over OPDC in the sense that she can replace the board or direct the board to change or be replaced.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this topic?
I had a question, if I may.
Please.
Either DA or judge, is it known, is an individual who's released pursuant to this issue, lack of counsel, are they identified anywhere for law enforcement contact, or even for when maybe there's recidivism or new crimes in this new period of being released? Is there any additional eyes on or tracking of what the actual impact is of releasing folks who would either not be released or would have counsel a little quicker?
I'll try to answer first. So there's no flag necessarily. If law enforcement were to come into contact with someone who's been released for this reason because they don't have an attorney available, even though they qualify for court-appointed counsel, there's no flag or alert like there would be if someone had a protective order issued against them. So law enforcement would not necessarily know unless they maybe do a little digging, at the time of a contact out in the community, that this person is released for this reason, and they're sort of in this limbo land of qualifying for court-appointed counsel, but the court not being able to appoint them one because there's no lawyer to appoint. When those people are released, they are being released on a release agreement with conditions, a conditional release agreement with a number of conditions that may be appropriate for the case type. There have been already, and not surprisingly, people who have been released for that reason, who have committed another offense and who have been rearrested and brought back into custody now after violating the release agreement, on the first matter that they didn't have an attorney for. But I'm not aware that there's anything that would necessarily alert anybody, if there was some law enforcement contact out in the community after that release, that is happening, that they've been released because we didn't have a lawyer for them and we couldn't hold them in custody any longer.
That's all good, DB. That's all correct. And I think the only place it's going to get noticed that they were released for that reason is when it gets to the DA's office, because we deal with, in the court structure, we deal with that issue, and then the court is going to be aware of it as well. But it really likely won't have any impact on the next decision because there aren't attorneys available for the person.
Okay, thank you. It would be interesting too to see just the increase maybe in the number of violations of conditional release before and during and after. Captain, is that a booking reason, or if it's a new crime, do they come in lodged on the new crime, not a conditional release violation, or is it both?
Well, first of all, we have our pretrial release program is actually pretty successful with the courts and the DA's office and public defenders. We're seeing with the court's pretrial and our own person that manages pretrial, we're seeing at least an 80% people going to their court, which is what you want. But I have not heard any reports of people being released this group because we're just started it about a month ago. This is brand new. We were able to provide attorneys all the way until last month. And then all of a sudden overnight, it seemed like it was overnight. We didn't have attorneys for them. And I think there's a number of other causes that, that I don't know, I'm not aware about, but what the change in the state. So with that being said, it's kind of like the opposite of population release. You know, when we don't have enough jail beds, this is the same process we use when we have to move people out of custody because we're not able to contain them in a jail environment. And so it's just a process. We've been in this process before. It was just about before I got here, probably 8 years ago, when we were doing pretrial population release. So I haven't seen the numbers yet, and I've not heard anybody talk to me from the jail system regarding it.
Davey, I have a question for you too. I mean, I haven't, I mean, I've been following a little bit about the juvenile. I don't think we have the problem with the representation with the juvenile. Have you seen that, Davey?
We haven't as of yet, and I don't know if it's just the raw number is lower or if it's just sort of a trickle down, it will happen at some point. I certainly believe those cases are at least as maybe time consuming or potentially more, given some of the interesting dynamics, but so far we haven't actually seen too much of that on the juvenile side.
And also, is this, I mean, we've been talking this for a while, several discussions before we've been talking about this issue. Is this just a national trend? Because I've never seen it this way. Is it just because of Oregon? Is it Deschutes County? Or what seemed to be an issue? Maybe I just thought I should ask that. I don't know.
It's not just Deschutes County. I'll let Mr. Gunnels kind of fill in the answer there. I wouldn't say it's national. I would say it's pretty specific to Oregon and the way that Oregon has delivered public defense historically. And Steve, I don't know if you want to fill in the rest of the answer. It is, if it is happening nationwide, it's acute right now in Oregon, not consistent with nationwide trends.
Around 35, 40 years old.
Yeah, that's accurate. I'm not aware of anything outside of Oregon like this. We are having these issues pop up around the state in Deschutes County and Jackson County and Coos County and a couple of other counties. They're currently undergoing this or experiencing the same circumstances with a so-called shortage of defense counsel.
Good discussion on this important topic. Any other comments or questions? I'm not seeing any at this point. So if we can move to the update on the electronic monitoring program, Trevor, if I may turn it over to you.
Thank you. Yeah, so my name's Trevor Stevens. I'm the business manager for Community Justice. And so just as an update for everyone, Deschutes County Community Justice manages the electronic monitoring contract for Deschutes County. So this includes monitoring services done by a alcohol bracelet or a GPS device, usually worn around the ankle. Some of the alcohol devices are more of a breathalyzer type device. We provide services for this for juveniles, for adults, pretrial and supervised. Just as an update, in terms of the cost of electronic monitoring, we had an RFP that concluded more recently, and so we had our first year of that new contract finish out. And just in terms of the cost and just the utilization of that resource, we had to make some initial changes to our pretrial population. We do subsidize about roughly $100,000 to $110,000 of the cost for those individuals on pretrial devices. They self-pay, but we provide some subsidy for that as well. And so just based on that contracted amount, we are seeing an increase in terms of the utilization and the cost. So we had to make some programmatic changes to kind of curb that cost so we can stay within the contracted amount. We work closely with the circuit court, the district attorney, and the sheriff's office, just kind of looking at what those changes could be. And ultimately, we arrived on some maximums in order for the number of days that an individual will be on a device. For alcohol devices, that'll be 45 days, and for GPS devices, that will be 75 days. This will help control the cost of these devices in terms of just the amount the individuals have to pay, as well as the subsidy that we have to pay from the county side of things. So these changes have already gone into effect. Those individuals that are on devices have already been, their attorneys have already been notified, the DA's office has been notified about what those changes will look like. And then anyone who came onto a device after June 17th, this will be a programmatic change for them that they will experience while on that program. So the memo that was attachment 3 kind of just explains a little more details of that, but we just wanted to provide an update for this group of what those changes will look like. So.
Thank you, Trevor. Very helpful. Questions or comments for Trevor or DB? I'm not seeing any. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Trevor.
Thanks, everyone.
And thanks everyone for the discussion under agenda item 4. Let's move to agenda item 5, the House Bill 4002 Deflection Program application and updates. And I see the Deschutes County Sheriff's Office. So Captain Schultz, is this your update for us?
It is, thanks to Dee Dee. She called me last week and said, hey, I'm requiring you to report to this meeting today. And I said, okay, Dee Dee. So what a great opportunity for us in reality. And I'm kind of glad to be part of it. And there's probably some people that don't know. So I'm just going to kind of read what this program is, deflection program, right? So what that really means is how do we deflect people who are substance use abuse users, and how do we deflect them from jail and move them into the appropriate type of place for them to be treated. And the nice thing is under House Bill 42 and specifically House Bill 5204 gave money to the counties to implement these programs as they recriminalized the use of drugs. And under in the old days, it used to be PCS 2, Schedule 2 drug, possession of controlled substance, Schedule 2, but it is now changed to possession of controlled substance U. So it's an unclassified charge that has a specific amount of jail time and money attached to it. But with that, the legislators wanted to make sure that law enforcement out there doing their job, if there is a way to change people from in custody to move them into treatment, that's where we want to go. And we're lucky we have a room full in this room of commanders and chiefs and individuals that truly believe in that, and a DA to make sure that those that are suffering, we hold them accountable, but we try to get them into a program to get them so that they don't have that revolving door of keep coming to jail. And it keeps my jail numbers low, which is very important for the chaos if we're too full. So this provides an opportunity for persons cited or arrested for the possession of controlled substance as an unclassified misdemeanor to avoid prosecution through a successful engagement in treatment. It's a collaborative program involving law enforcement, the district attorney, county behavioral health, community corrections, and treatment recovery providers in our area, or the network. We call it the BURN. The program is, the purpose of the program is to assist individuals who may have substance use disorder by creating a community-based pathways to treatment and recovery support services. Also to ensure individuals who get engaged in the treatment with appropriate accountability and structure. Reducing individuals' community harm by getting them out of their usage, and proceeding with fair, just, and equitable manner to avoid to reduce demographic disparities. And that's very important. Devi and I have talked about that as we move forward. So about 2 months ago or a month ago, the chiefs and our behavioral health folks and our behavioral health team, specifically Holly Harris, we decided that this program needs to reside in a law enforcement agency. At that point, we took it on, the sheriff's office took it on to be the point of this program where it will lie. With that, we have to make sure with the money that's already presented to us, because a year ago we applied for the grant, we got about $350,000 to move forward. And with that, we are hiring a program coordinator and navigators to be able to assist with law enforcement in the field as they come across individuals with addiction issues that we can divert them. So where are we at today? We had, by July 1st, we had to put in for the second part of the grant, which we did. We don't know if it's pretty much guaranteed for the counties that have put in for the grant and already pre-receptor of some of the money. So we expect to get more money in the future, but the grant now starts. With behavioral health, what we're looking to do is to hire a behavioral health specialist too, to manage it. But what we decided is to use existing resources in the sheriff's office to move somebody in that area to start to become the program coordinator, to work with our coordinators network in the field of behavioral health folks from Ideal Option and Best Care to get them started so that we can start the program to divert individuals. Now, remember, the law changes in September. This is when it could, but we want to be up and running before September so that we can latch on to individuals that may need that accountability and help to get into treatment programs. So we're almost there. What I've done is, my plan is that we're moving one of our deputies had to do a process. And so we put that in the deputy sheriff's process. That closes tonight at midnight. And I have one deputy that currently operates our pretrial services that wants to take this project on. And we've been working with Ideal Option and Best Care to coordinate with them for the navigators so we can get the team structure worked out so that we're ready to go when the new law changes and we can start changing lives immediately. When we do start the program, it's going to be made up, of course, of the deflection coordinator, the DA's office representative, law enforcement representatives, community corrections representatives, community health, and of course, our burn providers that are in our community, and that's mainly Best Care and Ideal Option. We've been in conversations with them as we built the grant. When we did the grant, I wrote it with Best Care and Ideal Option. Steve Gunnell was a big help in directing on how we're going to answer those questions. So I'm confident that that process will probably end in a month, and then we start our process of getting our program coordinator. Once that is done, we'll be meeting with our law enforcement agencies on seeing how we're going to go about connecting people that are officers on the street, have contact with, that have a drug addiction, how we're going to be able to connect them to these programs. Now, keep in mind, this program is not new. This program is a program that Marion County has been doing for a number of years and have been very successful. And now throughout the state, I'm on a network with a number of people from other counties that are getting their program coordinators identified and getting started. Everybody in the state of Oregon is starting to, I don't want to say copy their program, but we're using that program to start our own programs in the community because it's been successful. And the thing that I also want to say is these programs are attached to the CJC, the criminal justice system in the state of Oregon, because we have to produce numbers and successes and those type of things. We decided in our meeting that we'd start very slow, very small, and move forward. And having conversations with Steve Gunnell, I think that's the right way to do it. Although I think once we get this program started and people hear successes from 1-2 people, it's like having a good dinner. They're going to start talking about, hey, why don't you try to get this program? And as we move forward, it may not be an interaction with law enforcement. It may be that they come into our front door and we try to direct them to the right area. But mainly this program is when law enforcement has direct contact, and generally it's going to be over drug issues. It could be over trespass. It could be over disorderly conduct, whatever. We want to latch onto those individuals to direct them from the criminal justice system into the right program that they can get help. And our constituents out there, especially our navigators that have lived experiences, they're the ones who are telling us this is the program that's going to change lives. And I'm excited to be a part of it. Although really, we just, I just got the grant entered on the 1st. It came to us about 4 weeks ago. And so I've been moving through, getting more knowledge on the program. I have identified who might be a good program to be the program coordinator, somebody that's very interested in this. And like I said, I put it out for bid. It closes at midnight. I only have one person that is put in. It's that person that's really excited about doing the job. So I'm excited about that as well. Lots of ways to do it on how we do it. And that's going to be law enforcement chiefs and captains. I've met with them on how we're going to set it up. Right now, the school of thought is we're going to use the citation process to identify individuals. And with that, we'll hold the citation process in abeyance of what you say, whatever the DA kind of feels comfortable with, so that we don't lose people through the program. And we also have that ability to hold them accountable if they say, no, I'm going to continue committing crimes and move forward. So we'll have to talk through those issues, and we'll have to talk about issues where we want the officer to make that where we're going to make contact with individuals who become in contact with law enforcement. Is that going to be at the side of the police car? Is that going to be in the lobby of our booking area? Is that going to be at the stabilization center? Is it going to be at our precincts? Is it going to be that the law enforcement officer gives in the information, puts them in the program, and then we follow up with them the next day? Those are all things that have to be worked out, but certainly these programs are around our nation are already moving forward, and we'll adopt what we believe the best practices and what we feel comfortable with in our community to do so, with not only our law enforcement, but with our burn organization, our behavioral health staff as well. That's where we are. We haven't moved. It seems like a lot of work to me. I may not have said it's a lot of work, but grant writing is a very difficult job. So I envy those who can do it, but I was lucky that we latched onto some individuals that could help us get that grant. And that was my main priority, getting that done yesterday or last week, and we did. With that, I'll open it up. I know, Dee Dee, you'll have a question. You brought me here. You should have a question.
Yeah, I just want to first say thanks, Captain Schultz, to you, Sheriff Nelson, and to our Deschutes Sheriff's Office team for taking the leadership role for us locally. That was a really, really great update, and you're right. I'm sure there are going to be some questions and comments. So let's open it up. Thank you.
Dee. Well, I can tell you this. And thank you, Nick, for saying that, because I'm excited about this program. The more I get into it, there is a Lane County jail commander that just retired, Clint Riley, that retired, and they moved him into this position. That guy is tremendous when it comes to offering programs for individuals in custody and figuring things out so we don't create a issue that everybody comes to jail. He's been a big help with us. So I'm kind of excited about that. And Washington County, we've been sharing our information. I've shared our grant proposal with other counties, so they didn't have to rewrite it. They could use our material. And Washington County has sent us information on how they're moving through. They're all a little different, but I think eventually, as we show successes, I think it's going to be a statewide project where we all kind of move together. And of course, Chief Van Meter was one of the individuals that started this in Marion County, has talked to me about great successes. And I really look forward to it because, the individuals, when they come into jail, especially if they're drug addicted, generally they're unstable and they can be violent, they can be rude, but after 3 or 4 days and they're held accountable, a judge sees them, they get whatever time they get. Generally, they get released on pretty stable terms, going back to whatever job they have. And the problem is they go right back into the drug addiction. Then we see them all over again. That behavior I want changed. And I know our police chiefs do too. So.
Yeah, Chief Jim Van Meter, please jump in.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate, excuse me, the Deschutes County team, Captain Schultz and Holly Harris. You're just light years ahead of most of the other counties in the state, and they, quite frankly, are having a hard time getting it together. But your system seems to be like it's ready to roll out. So from a statewide perspective, you're knocking it out of the park. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited as well. When we talk about the Marion County, they've done, their program is far larger than what we want to start out with. But they even do referrals. They have a lot of ways to get into the program. And as this grows, hopefully we see more money coming in and the navigators, the people with lived experiences, they're so passionate. I mean, we hear them all the time. They're just so grateful that law enforcement wants to work with them. And that's what we heard because, at first we wanted to make this a behavioral health thing, but the navigators and the lived experience said, no, this has to be with our police officers. And they're all so excited about, working with us. And we have a lot of our deputies and officers that embrace that kind of relationship. It's because it's all about relationship and getting people in the right program. So.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks. So very excited about the progress to date on this program. Since we have a number of police chiefs with us today, I just wanted to ask, September 1st is not that far away. How are the police chiefs feeling about your officers being prepared to issue these citations and I mean, do warm handoffs or referrals basically into deflection programs at this point? Will everyone be ready, or is there a lot of prep and training still to do?
I'll speak from Bend, I guess. As of right now, we're not at all ready because we don't know what the program is. So I don't think we can prepare and train for it until we actually have the specifics. So once we know what it is and we get it all lined out and where these, where it will happen, which people will actually be eligible for the citation and a referral, which people won't, and what we will do with them, what the site will be. I mean, there's a lot of questions to be answered on. I mean, I think we all know it's a very short timeline for all of this to work and be set up and happen. And, I applaud the sheriff's office and Captain Schultz for moving quickly on this and behavioral health and kind of all the partnerships, but I think it's a challenge to get it done in the short timeline. Government doesn't exactly work super fast like this. So, and there's funding questions and issues. There's definitely some money in the front end, but that definitely is not enough to make a program like this work. I think so. There's a lot of things that are still up in the air. And once we, Commissioner, as we give training to police officers, it's got to be specific. It's got to be exact. It's got to be delivered within an hour or two, and we're giving them all the processes and the policies that go with it. So we can't, we got to wait for it all to be developed and then offer the training. So September is aggressive. I'll say that. But we're gonna shoot for it.
That reality check.
Yeah, that is a reality check, and agree. Training is going to be a big part of it. Yeah, way to ruin my presentation, Chief. Thank you.
You did great.
Just keeping it real.
As far as the conversation goes to the OHSU School of Medicine, the addiction medicine part of the School of Medicine has really stepped up into a leadership type role that's unique. Coming from the provider to a warm handoff, a peer support navigator, but then getting physicians to talk to physicians about advanced medical treatment and the use of BOOP and Suboxone and getting more prescribers able to prescribe those drugs. So the conversation is statewide and it's going into different entities that it hasn't gone before in my experience. And it's super exciting to get physicians on board and talking to other doctors saying, hey, you need to diagnose this and then treat substance use disorder at the ER. So we're just not getting this cycle as that we need, law enforcement needs medical professional help to intervene in these people's lives. And that conversation started as well through OHSU.
Yeah, and that, Chief Van Meter, that's a good point. One of the things, with the MAT and the program, the medical assisted treatment, when we talk about deflection, we're not giving up on diversion either. And that's individuals that already come into our custody because they may not meet the crime, but it may be a higher level of crime that they have, but we still divert them, get them into programs. We have Sally Pfeiffer and Associates. PNP has great programs for individuals with substance abuse. We still look at those diversion areas, but at the same time, now we're moving up from MAT, which we have in 1 year, we have processed over 200 people in our jail system for medicated assisted treatment. Now, some of them get on it and they move on. We never see them again. Some, it takes more time. We understand that. But if their criminal behavior is driven by drugs, we got to find a way to get that drug criminal behavior out, and we'll see a reduced level of crime, and we'll see happier families. And I think once we get this out, and it's all about the champion. I think I have a good champion from the sheriff. And another thing why I like the process, instead of hiring somebody out that we have to, do a process and we do a review, that could take a year in Bend to hire a program manager out. And then if the funding stops, then we lose that position, right? They go in unemployment. It'd be difficult to want to take that chance. In this process, we have somebody in the sheriff's office that understands pretrial, understands, works with judges, works with the courts, works with the officers that can come in and hopefully be the champion. But it really is going to be dependent on the people that want to make it work. We have right now the mentors that come into the jail that are already seeing people with drug addiction. They come in, they meet with people, we do warm hands off. Those are going to be the people that are going to be with our police officers on the front end of this. I really just see this as a continuation of what the jails in Oregon have been doing, and now we're just moving it outside the jails to get a further start. So I look at it as that seems easy to me. So I don't see, and of course, there's always going to be problems coming up, but I really think that's going to be an easy process for us. You agree with that, right, Chief Krantz?
Oh, of course, I agree.
Of course, thank you. Thank you.
I think of the people who have been involved in it, everyone knows it's a tremendous amount of work, and a lot of good's going to come of this. I think we all know, or at least have faith that that's what is going to come out of this, is a lot of good. And we haven't seen a lot of good around this specific topic in the last couple of years in our communities. So it's just getting to that point in such a short timeline. And then, the challenge, as Commissioner mentioned, I think, is getting our officers who are on that front, very first contact, train on what's this process and how we're going to do it. And that's going to be a short turnaround. So that's my only, negative Nancy on this one piece, is getting our folks trained to how to actually do it once we have this process in place. But in the end, this is all great stuff.
And I would second Chief Krantz there. The training is critical, and when we bring that up, it's critical that we have success early in this program, and that's why our team and has discussed keeping it small in the beginning. And I will second the importance of making sure that our officers who are encountering people out there on the streets understand the program, understand the why behind the program, and that's going to be critical, because right off the bat we want this to start bringing in success stories, because Captain Schultz is correct. That will get the ball rolling. We'll get the word out, and then we can look to expand it. But I agree, it is ambitious. September 1st is ambitious, but I also think that it's super important that training is adequate, and that our officers understand the program as a whole so that they can get behind it. So that's our 2 cents from down here in Sun River.
Thank you. I just wanted to see, Chief Lewis, did you want to offer any comments from Redmond?
I would just be echoing what was already said. I do appreciate all the work the team's done to get it where it is today. And I know that the sheriff's office stepped up to take on the role initially when we weren't sure how it was going to be run. And I think it is going to be productive. And I do agree training our officers is going to be important. But yeah, I think it's going to be a success. We got everybody here behind it and committed to it. So I'm looking forward to the program.
Great. Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner. Great question to begin that good discussion. Other comments or questions? Not seeing or hearing any. That was a really, really great update. Again, Captain Schultz, thank you very, very much. I just want to make sure that I don't miss the opportunity to capture anybody else, but I'm not seeing any others at this time. Thank you. Let's move into our final agenda item, agency updates and other business. I can just start by saying I recognize we are in our busy season and probably the busiest week of our busy season. So I'm sure you're all very active, and I hope it's uneventful, but that's, I'm sure, wishful thinking. So let me just open it up. Any other updates from anybody or news you would like to share? Please jump in.
Hey, everybody. Gil Levy with Kids Center. And just wanted to share something out on behalf of everybody that's in a victim services organization role. Anyone that's like Kids Center or Saving Grace, or I think also the Victim Services Program with the DA's office, but anyone that's recipient of federal VOCA dollars, just some developments with that fund that I think are maybe good for this group to be aware of. In case you're not familiar with the VOCA fund, it's a federal fund, Victims of Crime Act fund, that is seeded not with tax dollars, but it's money that is as a result of federal prosecution. So like penalties that are paid, court fees, and things like that go into this pot. And then the federal government distributes portions of that pot to the states. And then every state administers grants to victim services organizations like Kids Center as a children's advocacy center, or Saving Grace as a domestic violence victim service provider, or victim services programs that are housed in DA's offices, or elder abuse programs. So just all those kinds of organizations are recipients of federal VOCA fund dollars. And basically the fund is kind of broken, and the pot is shrinking significantly at the federal level. And it has to do with, I think part of it is that there's not been a lot of white collar crime prosecuted over the last couple of administrations. And so the dollars in there have just shrank significantly. And the next cycle of funding that's coming out, basically the federal government announced that there's going to be a 42% reduction in those dollars. So the state of Oregon will get 42% less than it did this past cycle. And that'll translate down to every single recipient of a grant, probably at the same level. I don't think they're going to kind of make adjustments other than just giving everybody the same cut across the board. So this has been an issue for a long time, and the dollars have kind of fluctuated in that pot, but it's at a really low ebb at this point. In the past, when this has happened, there have been times where the Oregon State Legislature has stepped in and backfilled to an extent. And I think there's some efforts already underway right now in preparation for the next session to pursue some means like that. And so there could be a point over the next year where there is possibility for citizens to weigh in to support that action. So just kind of want folks to be aware that that could happen. At this point, it's too early to really point to anything specific. But there are also, which is I think pretty promising, a couple of different bills that have happened in Congress to try to make a federal level fix. And the one that came first was in the House. And that one, I'm going to just post a link really quickly in here in case you're just curious of taking a look at it. It's got already 87 co-sponsors. And we've been working with our national organization to try to really get the word out on this. The very first Oregon legislator to co-sponsor was Representative Lori Chavez-DeRemer, which is great. And there's only one other rep from Oregon so far that's sponsored. I think it's Salinas. So really the only Central Oregon person that's stepped up to do this is Representative Chavez DeRemer, which we appreciate. There's also since then, very recently, there was a similar bill introduced in the Senate. Senator Durbin and Murkowski have both co-sponsored it, and it's brand new. It hasn't really gone anywhere. I think that's the Senate bill, if I'm not mistaken. But just kind of awareness for you all. And I think potentially there could be an opportunity if we really want to ask our senators to support this and get on board as co-sponsors. I haven't been kind of asked by our national office to push that really hard or anything, but just want folks to know that the victim services agencies out there depend on these dollars. This is a long-standing kind of quasi-permanent source of funding for these kinds of services. And if it doesn't get sorted out, it could potentially just shrink up and go away. So I think it's got to get fixed on some level, and it's just a question of what and when and how. And there's a few different avenues, and just kind of wanted it to be on people's radar. And if there's ever a point in the future where there's a very specific way for our community to jump in, I might not be shy about asking those of you who are in a position to maybe lend a voice. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I certainly wasn't aware of it. I appreciate it. Any follow-up questions or comments from anybody? I'm not seeing any, so I'll open it back up to other agency updates and other business. Thanks, Gil.
If I may, Nick. All of you on this space have been invited to an event on August 7th. You got that invitation from me. It's a presentation with TK Floyd Fouts on implicit bias in the law enforcement and legal profession. I'm going to be following up with each of you. I would love actually personally to set up a time to talk with you over the phone or in person or whatever, really briefly, but just to share with you kind of where that presentation is coming from and hear your agency and your thoughts as leaders on that topic, and what future kinds of conversations or topics you might be interested in. So please look for a further invite, a separate one, but related to that August 7th event from me in the future.
Thank you, DV. Will that be recorded and available for those of us that are not able to attend?
Yeah, I think we can make that happen. I don't know if we've talked with her about what that means as far as her intellectual material, where it needs to be posted, but I'm sure that we could figure out a recording and then get it to folks in a way that makes sense for everybody. We'll do our best. We've had a couple of requests because the space is somewhat limited. It's a super important topic. CEUs, if that's something that is in your world, are available for that too. So we'll work on it.
Yeah, thank you. I'm certainly very, very sorry to miss it, as I'll be on vacation with family that week. So great. Thank you very much. Others, any other updates or business to share? I'm not seeing any, so I just want to thank everyone for attending today, and I wish you all a very safe and fun, enjoyable holiday week until we meet again, I assume, in the first week of August. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day and holiday.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.